The Bitcoin fractal we've been looking at for quite some time now is continuing to follow exactly as the fractal did following the C19 crash. You can see back here we had this little roundabout here, went sideways, popped the high, and that's what really kicked off the next bull run, and very similar to what we see now. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, it's this one right here. Basically, we were looking at this as this thing was dumping down. And again, I don't want to repeat myself, but when we were down here basically screaming, don't sell, don't sell, wait for it to come back up, and then we can make that decision. Because, you know, all of this area of support, right? You break down. Most of the time we come back up and we retest it, right? So that first chart on the screen, that's what we're looking at right here, this little area right here. And we're trying to see if there's anything in that fractal that can give us any indication if this is going to continue higher or if we're going to continue down. Because a lot of times when you crash, you start with a crash, you come back up, you retest it as resistance, and then you continue down. We don't want that, obviously. We want it to come back up, coil up, continue breaking out, right? So again, we're at a major inflection point here. Either this is going to go up into a fifth wave, or this is going to come down into reaccumulation, right? And we're going to have to reaccumulate for a while and then go up at a later time, right? So I think no matter what happens, we will get an alt season. The difference is, does it happen now, or do we have to wait another 6 months to a year, maybe another year and a half before that happens, right? I wouldn't say 2 years. I would say more like, if we did have to come down, I would say it would take probably another 6 months to a year and a half before we continue higher. But if we did do that, it would be a mega bull run, right? Because then we would basically have a 1 2 1 2, which would reset the price down here, right? So, but for me, I'm more in the camp like, nah, I don't want to go through all that. Let's just get that fifth wave, and then we can, you know, take our profit, and then later on, right, as it goes into a bear market, we can recalibrate and you know, look forward to another alt season. But so anyway, so right now we're comparing what happened right here to what's happening right here, right? So you can see pretty clearly there. And again, as we were dumping down, this is what we've been doing this whole time. So now let's take a look. But before I do that, real quick, you can see again Ethereum having this 1 2 1 2, right? And we exploded to the upside. Now we're flagging out. Well, if you look at THETA, it's kind of got that similar shape, but something's missing. We don't have this guy right here, right? So that is important to know, right? And not just THETA, but a lot of them. It doesn't have this bigger retracement wave, which is important because when we're looking at the fractal, we want to see, is there anything else other than the fractal that can give us confluence that the market's going to go up? And yes, right here we have something. And there's many more things that we've been talking about, right? One of the biggest buy indicators was, you know, I've been talking about it, and it's called the TD sequential 2-week 9 buy. And we'll jump into all that stuff and even more than that. And we're going to talk about Bitcoin, THETA, XRP. We'll talk about Matic. And we're going to jump into it, and we're going to dissect this, and let's see if we can figure things out. By the way, today, obviously, we're pumping pretty nicely. So this is, you know, a step in the right direction. So here we got both of the fractals side by side. You can see the big dump here, the big dump here, and now we're sort of doing all of this, you know, consolidation. So what we're going to do is we're going to compare that consolidation. I've been comparing it every day now. So, but every day comes new data, right? So let's see if the new data is continuing to match. And there's actually a couple different ways you can look at it. So originally, well, let's look at like this. So first, we have this little bit of a flat top here. We have this flat top here. We come down, we have a retracement. We come down, we have a retracement. And then what do? We come down, come back up, hit the low. Come down, come back up, take out the low, right? And then what do? And then we start coming back up, doing a little roundabout, making this flat top here. Come up, make a flat top here, right? And then what do? We come back down, we come back down. And then what do? We go sideways a little bit, we go sideways a little bit. And then what we do is essentially, popped back to the upside. And that's exactly what we did. We popped to the upside, and then we're kind of having this correction in here. We popped to the upside, and we actually came down. We had a bigger correction. So the reason why I think it's a little bit different here is because when you look at this, you can see we came up, we pulled back. This one, we came up, we pulled way back. I think because this pump was a little bit too fast, so we had to come back down and back test, right? So now, you can argue that this pullback was this pullback, or you can say that I don't think it really matters, but you can say that this high right here and this high right here, we both pumped to the upside and we broke this high. We pumped to the upside, we broke this high, right? We pulled back a little bit, we're consolidating, and now we're continuing to pump. So let's take a little bit of a measurement here. So this measurement from here down is about 4%. Okay, so let's see what this is. Now, again, it's two different time frames. 1 second here. So let me go from here to the top of the wick down to the bottom. Well, would you look at that? It's about 4.5%, right? So from this wick, from this top down to this low, right? So it's about the same correction. Now, the reason why it seems flat and this one seems a little bit more down is because obviously we're on, it's a different time frame, but basically in percentage terms, it's about the same. So, man, this is really, 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 really good. This is exactly what we want. So we could very well be on our way. And like I've been saying for the last, it feels like the last 30 days, we're at a big inflection point, and I think this is the moment here. And ever since that we had that big dump, right, back to the downside, I've been waiting for it to come back up and have a retracement, which it's doing. It came back up, 50%. Let me scrunch this up a little bit. So actually, there we go. So again, we've been waiting for ever since this dump to get back up here. Now that we're up here, right, now we can sort of make the decision what's going to happen here. So according to, again, this fractal that we've been looking at for quite some time now, is giving us this leading indicator that we should continue to break out. Now, what else is giving us any indication that we should break out? Well, let's look a little bit closer, and let's make the full screen here, and let's zoom in, and putting that fractal aside, which is, by the way, is following beautifully, what we can see here is potentially a shoulder, a head and a shoulder. We have an inverse head and shoulders, and I remember talking about this as well, coming back up here and forming that left shoulder, or I'm sorry, the right shoulder. So now you can see we're on the 6-hour chart. We have a 6-hour engulfing candle. We're right here testing the boundaries of this breakout. If we do break out, it's approximately, we're coming back up to about 65K, which would be really, really, really a good thing. The big number for me is staying above 64K. As long as we can stay above 64K, which is a very important number, you can see all of these pivot points. I mean, right in here, 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 this one especially here, right in here, this one here, right? It's a very big, it's basically that middle line. So if I take the bottom and I take the top, this is like the middle here. So that's the middle, the mean. So we need to get above the mean and stay above it, right? So if we can break out and maybe flag out a little bit, come back up, back test it, you know, and essentially kind of flag out in here, I think we could be well on our way to 80 to 100K, which means, you know, maybe a 1 2 1 2, a big 3 4, and then a 5, and then we can get perhaps a decent alt season here. So what else is giving us the indication that, you know, we should go higher? Well, the fact that the way this is correcting. So if you look at, you know, people say, oh, it's a bear market top. Well, if you look, you know, look at the difference here between this, how we're going down, we're flagging out here, versus looking at it like this, where this was actually going up and we're flagging up. See, that's the big difference that people sort of misconstrued, and a lot of times people like it that we're going up, but what that does is that you have 1 2 3. That's called 3 drives to the high. You can Google that, 3 drives to the high. And when you look at the RSI, you can see we're getting massive bearish divergence. But look how much of the, look where the divergence started, and look how much divergence it actually took. So the crash started here. So it took 1 2 3 4. It took 5 points of divergence to actually cause the crash. The top of the RSI was actually at about 38 40K. But we went on to go up to, what was the top there? 64K, which is another big reason we need to get above it, right? So, and then that's when we started getting all of this divergence, right? So looking at this is completely different, right? Even looking at it like from this top here, you can see what? 2 drives to the high. Right? We're going up and this is going down. So those were the 2 signals, right? And then if you say, okay, well, what about the 2020 top? You know, this was more of a blow off top, right? Which is not what we're getting, right? And you can say, well, what about something like this? This looks like perhaps, you know, this was more of a descending triangle though. We came down, we back tested the descending triangle, and this is the point where you should have got out because we couldn't get through it. We came down, right? And then we made a base here. It was looking good, maybe like an ABC, and now we're starting to move our way up. It's looking good. Then bam, we had C19, right? And then we continued higher. So, but all of this was what? It was flagging out. We were going down here. So we had a big move up, flagging down, which led to what? A big breakout. So when you look at something like this versus something like this, see how this is going up? If a channel is going up it at a top of a wave, it's usually bearish. Now you could get throwovers, meaning the price can sort of, you know, oscillate here, jump to the upside, make you believe that it's going, but that would be a big short, and then it comes down. So you can see the differences of this. So now let's fast forward today. What do we see? We don't see anything like what's happening over here. See, this is going up, this is going up, but this is going down, right? And that's the psychology misconception that people have, that no, we got to go lower, we got to go lower, and we could go lower, right? I'm about 80 to 90% confident that we're going to break to the upside if the environment was normal. But we don't live in a normal environment. Why? Because it's an election year. It's a deep state situation, right? We got the labor market, we got recession, we got inflation, we got the fight for the White House, we got all of these different things going on. There's so much uncertainty, there's protests, there's Russia, Israel, there's Ukraine. I mean, there's so many things in the world that are sort of like these, any black swan event could happen, right? Cyber attack, whatever. So those things in the back of my mind, there's a lot of them too. Any one of those things could cause a liquidation event. But what I'm telling you is, if an event, right, if we had a crash in a normal environment, that is an organic crash. That's organic, meaning it was meant that way. But if we have an event that takes us down, that's very bullish. Why? Because the price didn't want to go down, but it was forced down through forced liquidations, through fear, through an event, right? And just like back here in C19, right? If we go down, or we did go down, we crashed. But this wasn't because Bitcoin was weak. This wasn't because there was an FTX collapse. This wasn't because Coinbase got sued. This wasn't because of a big war. It was because of C19. It was a big fear situation, which then what? It snapped back, and then it caused the price to go crazy, right? It wasn't an organic sell-off. Like this was an organic sell-off. You can see how it's methodically going down. This was a complete liquidation event, right? Same thing, you can say, well, what about this? I don't remember what was happening at the time, but this was a technical structure. You can see this was an ascending triangle here. Here's your measured move right here, and look at that. We made the measured move perfectly, right? And then we developed a base, and then we exploded to the upside. But we only have one base. We only have one steel beam supporting the price. It eventually gets heavier and heavier and heavier, and then it weighs down, and then it has to pull back, right? So it came down, it had reinforcement to backtest this area and led to this rally. So what I'm saying here is, under normal situations, I'm very confident that this is going to break out. Despite all the things that are going on in this election year, I'm still confident that we can break out. Why? Because there's a lot of bullish signals. We just looked at the fractal, we looked at the micro fractal, we look at the inverse head and shoulders, and we looked at the fact that this is going down in a bull flag, right? And then also we have W, X, Y, X, Z. We have a completed triple correction. And then we have an impulse. We have this big crash here. It came back 50%, and now we're consolidating. So this is the battle between the breakdown line. So if we can get back above the line where we broke down from, getting above it and then coming back and retesting it, that is going to be the signal that, hey, we're going higher, right? Now, the stock market has to remain normal, the dollar, right? There's a lot of, again, the environment has to be perfect for such of an event to be caught, for something like that to happen. So, but the probabilities say yes, that's what we're going to get. And another reason, is there any other reason? Well, yes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, where's 5? We don't have 5. We need 5, right? And you can see this second wave is in the same degree as this fourth wave. The same amount of time, the same looking structure, right? It's the same degree. So there's another thing that's saying we're likely to break to the upside. But what I'm telling you is, if some kind of black swan event occurs, like C19 did, which causes the price to dump, I'm telling you right now, if that happens and it's not organic, then rest assured, you definitely should not financial advice, but definitely don't sell. Why? Because it's like having a beach ball and you're forcing it underwater and you're holding it and you're holding it and you're holding it. Eventually that ball's going to fly to the upside because it wasn't meant to go down. It had to go down because of certain world events that caused it to go down. But so if this event, if there's an event out there that causes the price to crash, it's going to be the best buying opportunity of a lifetime. Why? And another reason too is because we're getting a new president, and this president is going to be pro-crypto, right? Inflation is going to come down, energy costs are going to come down, right? So people are going to look optimistic, right? Back in 2017, 2018, there was so much optimism about the economy because what happened? We lowered taxes, right? We reduced the regulation, unnecessary red tape, right? We reduced a lot of it, which allowed businesses to thrive. That same sort of economic mindset is going to be applied. But not only that, we're going to have regulations through crypto. And crypto, many of them are no good, but a lot of them have a utility purpose. And it's all a good businessman will try to figure out, this person's good with computers, so he's going to do that. This person's good with making phone calls, so he's going to do that. This coin is good, Filecoin is good for, the file department, obviously, right? So it's going to be good for that. And it's about applying those things to those things, right? And I think it's going to be huge. We're going to have probably the biggest crypto rally between now and probably the next 4 years. Now, I don't know exactly when that's going to be, right? If we do get something like this, but I can only speculate. So, again, if we crash to the downside, it's most likely because of an event, maybe the stock market, whatever. But if it happens, then it's basically like a slingshot. You're stretching the slingshot. You're putting more tension, more tension, more tension, more tension, right? Now you're kind of down here in the dumps, and then bam, you shoot massively to the upside. Because by this time, Trump would have gotten elected, Gary Gensler would have been fired, taxes reduced, right? Energy costs coming down. I mean, everything, optimism, right? People invest into optimism, right? So he already talked about the stockpile, right? Bitcoin, how many 200,000 or so Bitcoin in U.S. reserves. And, right, so that's a big deal. So he's pro-crypto, which means as soon as the green light is confirmed that he's going to be the president, then I think it's, we might even have a very fast dump down and then completely go berserk. Now, what am I saying here? This is all contingent on an event, again, like a cyber attack or whatever. So just wanted to throw that out there. But if none of that stuff occurs, then, or let's say we get, this thing is ready, guys. This thing is ready. And I'm going to show you even more reasons. W, X, Y, X, Z. We have a 1, 2, right? So if we get a big third, a 4, and a 5, then there you go. There's your fifth wave, right? And then we have the event up here. See, we didn't talk about this, right? So if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're sitting up here, we're in distribution. Bitcoin's going into the altcoins, and retail's going into Bitcoin, propping it up, while smart money is siphoning it out, going into altcoins, because altcoins are where? Look at THETA, right? They're actually, I have to put it off log scale. I'll do that later, but because I got to be on the THETA chart. But anyways, we have this big pump to the upside, this fifth wave, right? And then the event comes, because there's something going to happen. I don't know what it is, but this is not a normal election. Something's going to happen. Some kind of riot, protest, something is going to happen. I don't know what it is. But hopefully we can get this fifth wave, and then it happens up here, causing the big crash, right? And then Trump gets in, right? And then we crashed here, right? And now we kind of reset, and then hopefully then we can get to a bigger rally. So that's sort of a new idea I'm introducing here. Basically, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have a big ABC, a big, crash that's also event related. And then, we have regulation, we have all this optimism, right? Maybe XRP ETF, Ripple IPO. There's so many things, right? So many things. And then, bam, we continue higher. So that's sort of the new idea I'm introducing. And this is the idea I would like to happen, because we would actually get an alt season here, and then we would get another alt season later on, because we're kind of overdue for a big alt season. We haven't had one in a while. So what it would look like is something like this. And what is this? What the hell is that? Right? Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's what we want. That's what we want to see. 7. Or you can even say it's a diagonal, some kind of 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So some kind of diagonal in here, right? We pull back and then continue higher, right? So I think ultimately Bitcoin's going to continue higher and higher and higher and higher, right? Until we get to 500,000 to 1 million. Now that doesn't mean I'm going to run towards Bitcoin and invest, because to me, if you want to be a millionaire, everybody wants to be better than they already are, right? And the only way I think that's going to happen is if either A, you're already rich and you can afford a lot of Bitcoins, or B, you got a normal job like a normal person, and you're putting a percentage of your paycheck in, maybe once a month, maybe once every couple months, maybe once a week, right? And then over time, you're building a big portfolio in altcoins. And then once you get that big alt season, it happens quick. Boom, you got life-changing amount of money. You got a down payment for a house. You got a brand new car. You got college paid for. You got whatever, right? I mean, you got retirement money, right? I mean, there's a lot of things. And again, crypto is the only vehicle on planet Earth that can provide me and you, normal people, an opportunity to become something bigger than who we already are, right? And we're not going to be a movie actor, we're not going to be a rock star, we're not going to be a famous rapper, right? We're not going to be a lawyer, we're not going to be a doctor, we're not going to be some crazy scientist, maybe some of us, right? So I mean, what other option is there? There's only one: investing. And what's the biggest thing to invest? In real business, real companies, right? Unless you're on Shark Tank, unless you have all this money you can throw at a business like 20, 30, 40, $100,000, most of us can't. right? So what do? We buy coins. And what do? We hodl. And we wait. And we wait, and we wait, and we wait. And we wait as long as it takes, because eventually it will happen, right? Now it's all about picking the right ones. So that's up for you to decide. So anyways, that's my little rant there for today. Let's continue moving forward here on why, let's look for confluence here on why this is still very bullish, right? Now on one side, you could say it's bearish because we already have 5 waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the problem is we don't have 5 waves, right? Because this is not 5. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. But here you only have 1, 2, 3, 4. We still need 5. So that's what we're looking for. Let's see. Is there anything else? Well, yes. Let's go to total 3. So this is the altcoins, right? And again, what is the altcoin market doing? It's slanting down, right? We have a 1, 2, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So 1, 2, 1, 2, or actually it would be 3 because we're not overlapping here. But we created a base down here, which is very important. We have a 1, 2, which is very, very important. And then we have a big impulse, which is extremely important. And then also the way it's correcting down. It's flagging out, which is very bullish, which gives me the impression, if I just take that right there, we're looking at $1 trillion here. So this gives me the impression that we're going to break out. Because if you look at over here, what is it doing? It's driving to the top. We're going up, right? Which causes it to go down. And when we're going down, it causes it to go up. Now, I would have liked to see total 3 get a little bit higher and then flag out. That way we could be more close to the all-time high. But, it is what it is. But the big question I have is, are we going to go into full-blown expansion, or are we just going to have another wave to the upside? So, for example, if I just put this right here, my question is, are we going to get, if we do break out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's all we get back to the previous high, and then we have to come down into reaccumulation, wait for the country to get fixed, and then go higher? That could be a reason too. That could be another big thing, right? We might only get this, and it's in proportion with this, but usually fifth waves get a little bit higher. So that's the big thing, right? Or are we going to go into expansion where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get a big fifth wave to the upside that actually breaks out and goes into price discovery, right? So price discovery means you're breaking above the all-time high and you're going, there's no overhead resistance, right? Except there is, right? There's always overhead resistance, Fibonacci resistance. And that would be what? Well, if we put the retracement on, we want to get at least a 1618, which would put us about $1.64 trillion, right? I mean, you can even go as high as a 4.236, would put us at 3.8 trillion. Now, I don't think that's going to happen this run, but I think it will during this next 4-year cycle, right? Because just like with presidents, right, it's a 4-year cycle. And the last 4 years, we had Joe Biden, and it's been terrible. The previous 4 years, we had Trump, and it's been great. I mean, we had this big 2017 run up here, and then we had the tail end of this huge run up here. And then once Joe Biden's policies took effect, you could see what happened. Now, I'm not saying that's the reason why. I'm not saying that's the reason at all. But, you know, if you can remove the red tape, if you can push in regulation, if you can have Bitcoin on people's portfolios like 401ks, institutional, right? There's so many things, and it's still very brand new. The whole entire market cap, the whole thing, is only $585 billion. That's it. That's all it is. That's nothing. I mean, how many coins you got out there? I think there's going to be a lot of coins that are going to be multi-trillion-dollar assets in the future that are going to solve a lot of the world's problems. Because crypto, blockchain, interledger protocol, right? Distributed, it's bigger than we can think, right? So right now we're in a speculative situation. So, but once it's actually utility driven, then it's going to be a monster. And that's why we hodl. That is why we hodl. We don't hodl based off speculation of the next run. We hodl because we know full-heartedly with 100% conviction that this technology will revolutionize finance, payments, all types of money, right? And that only happens when we have a clear road, right? And that's what? Being regulated. Without regulations, you have nothing. So it's the wild, wild west. And that's why we had no regulations, because the deep state liked it that way. They wanted the wild, wild west because they can get away with fraud. Look how many things they've been doing behind the scenes. Look how many people lost money in crypto because of pump and dump scams and things like that, right? So if they're not regulated. And how come Gary Gensler is not going after those? He goes after compliant companies like Ripple. Makes no sense. Because it does make sense, because he's a central banker. He's a Goldman Sachs boy, right? And I'm not going to get into that again, but there's your second rant for the day. So there's a lot to look forward to, right? There's a lot to look forward to. Technical analysis is one part of it, but the other part of it is actually understanding what it's all about. And if you have that conviction, then you don't mind hodling. And even if we do crash, whatever, I don't care. I mean, I do care, but it's sort of out of my control, right? Because I know eventually you cannot hold a beach ball underwater forever. Eventually you're going to get tired and it's going to pop to the upside. So let's look at the weekly chart. Let's go to the 2-week chart now. And this is where it gets interesting. Ready? Boom. Look at that. We have a 2-week 9 buy. We have this 8 with a big wick. We have the base of the 9 at the base of the 8, right? It's slowing down, so it's looking really good. So think about all this bullish stuff we just talked about, the fractal, the micro fractal, the fact that it's going bull flagging down, the WXYXZ, and now we have the 9 TD sequential here, which is very, very, very important. Now, this is a 2-week chart, so it could take time to activate. It could take up to 6 weeks to activate, right? I mean, you could have, here's your 9 right here, which ends, the candle's going to end in 4 days, and then you might have another candle here, and then maybe that's another 2 weeks, right? So now we're at like 2.5 weeks, right? Or say 3 weeks, and then maybe another candle here, and you can see that red dot. Let me just put a line right there. So once that red dot is broken, wherever it lands, that's when we have to activate the trade. So once we break above it and close above it, right, then we can seriously get going here. Maybe a little bit of a pullback, and then bam, a continuation. Right now we're in November, and you know, the sky's the limit, really. So something like that. That's kind of what we want to see, right? So if we can actually go sideways here for 2, 4, 6 weeks, I mean, maybe not 6 weeks, maybe 30 days, right? Maybe all of September, because usually September is the most bearish month in crypto anyway. So if we have a pretty bullish end of August, I would imagine we would have a pretty bearish September, which doesn't mean bearish like we're going to crash, but more bearish like kind of boring sideways action. And we want boring. Why do we want boring? Because after you flag out, let me put my flag here, right? And that's the cool thing about it. It's not about the China flag, the American flag, the Canadian flag. It's about the crypto bull flag. That's the flag that unites us all. You know, you can see instead of it just breaking out with a straight line, we actually go sideways here. You know, that would be probably the healthiest thing, is if we kind of go sideways for maybe 20, 30 days and then get that breakout, right? So actually, if I go, let me turn this off and let's actually let's go to the weekly chart. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, something like that. I mean, from a time perspective, it looks good. So you can see, here's your doji here, and now we're starting to go up. So this is that first wave. So eventually that wave is going to end, right? And then we're probably going to have, so this was 3 weeks up. Maybe we might get a week and a half to 2 weeks down. So if I zoom in, so now let me zoom in to, say, the 3-day chart. Okay, and let's say we come back up here a little bit. So this is your whole move, the upside, and then we come down like this. We have another move down, and then we break out. So that's kind of what we want to see, and that's kind of what I'm expecting, kind of going down all summer. But let's pump up a little bit more, right? We're still in August 21st. So right now we have, let's see here, we have approximately, how many days until the end of September? That's what I want to know. Right there. So about 42 days, right? So I would say probably within that time frame, we'll definitely have an answer. Now, it comes down to seasonality too, right? Traditionally, summer's boring, September's bearish. Doesn't mean all Septembers, right? And then historically, November, December, or definitely basically the end of October, so after Halloween, they call it the Halloween effect, right? And which leads to a Santa Claus rally. So between October and December is historically the most bullish time for markets, right? People are in that giving spirit, and money's more, more freely invested, as you would say. So yeah, that's sort of the main idea. This is like the best case scenario we can possibly get, something like this. And I would imagine we would get some resistance up in here, right? But if we could slice right through that like it was not even there, then I would expect it to come back down, right? And then either maybe one more hit to the high, or have a retracement A, B, C, kind of go sideways a bit, and then kick off the next bull cycle, something like that. Maybe 2026, 2027. So if we get something like that, it's going to take at least a year or two to correct that big move, right? But if we have, it could be a lot faster because of regulations, because of a lot of other things going on. So usually crypto likes to preempt the move and sort of price in certain things. So once the market knows definitively that something's going to happen, it automatically gets priced in, right? And don't forget, we just had what? The Bitcoin halving. People forget about the Bitcoin halving. Even I kind of forgot about it, right? So the Bitcoin halving is important because the longer time goes on, the less is being mined, the more supply gets dwindled, right? So you had a lot of selling from Mt. Gox, you had a lot of selling from grayscale ETFs, and I think a lot of that has died down, so there's really not much selling left to go, right? I think it's all done. So I think, you know, the sky is the limit here. So anyways, let's look at the small time frames and see if we can see anything. So yeah, it's doing exactly what we thought it would do, right? Which is what? You know, come up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what did we want? We wanted a 3-wave pullback. That's exactly what we got. And now we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe we get another 3-wave pullback. And then we continue higher. And it's like a 1, 2, 1, 2 setup. I mean, yeah, I mean, it looks really good, right? So yeah, we talked about this roundabout, right? Sometimes it comes down here and then it goes. It was actually pretty bullish. It actually came up, it went sideways here, and now it's breaking out. Now, on the bearish side, it's starting to look very 3-wave-ish. All waves start out as 3 waves. So the length of this wave is pretty big, which means the 3rd wave needs to be even bigger. And if it's the same size or smaller, it's going to look like an ABC, right? So A, B, C. So if I put the trend-based extension on, and I go from here all the way up to here, and then all the way down, where's the 1-to-1 extension at? It's all the way up back at this previous high here, right? So we need to go beyond that. So where do we need to go? For a 3rd wave, we need to get up here between $700 and $720 billion. Right? And let me just extend that over, and that gets us where? Basically the top of this wave here, which will really jumpstart things. So we could very much be on our way. If this was a 1, if this was, actually if this was wave 1, and this is wave 2, and now we're in the middle of wave 3, this is important because where does wave 3 land? I want it to at least get to, you know, the 1-to-1 here. And then maybe we pull back, and then we get up here towards the 618, wave 5. Right? So let me just get rid of all of this. There we go, something like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then maybe we flag out in here. Because we have all this resistance, we got to cut through all of that volume, you know, the volume profile, and then continue breaking to the upside. So, I mean, come on, we've been, and when I say this, it seems like surreal. It doesn't seem real. It's like, nah, I don't know, man. It seems too good to be true. Well, here's the thing. We've been correcting since March 15th or so. So it's been what, 150 days, about 145, 150 days. So we've been going down, 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 150 days. So that basically gives a lot of people complacement, right? It feels like, you know, every time we go down, every time we go up, we come back down. Every time we go up, we come back down. So you're being conditioned to think that way. Right? And maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe we come up and we continue to go down. But at least we'll know the answer, because there's no other, you know, this is it right here. If we go down again, let's say this comes up and we come down again, then it's over with. That's no longer a correction. That's a downtrend, because now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now you no longer have W, X, Y, X, Z. Right? Traditionally, you want an A, B, C. And sometimes you get a triple where it takes another 2 waves. But if it goes down another wave, now you have a full-on reversal, right? Which, if you got something like that, I would then expect it to come up pretty big and then continue down. But that's another day. We'll talk about that another day. So anyway, that's kind of where we are with Total 3, and that's all of the altcoins, every altcoin out there, and it's looking pretty good. I mean, you got this bullish wick here. Yeah, I mean, it's looking great, and the RSI looks great. Look at the bullish divergence on the RSI. That's another thing, right? You have a low, higher low, right? Versus a low, lower low. So it's diverting. That's a good thing. That's exactly what we want to see, especially on a higher time frame. That's really good. So I haven't talked about the bull market support band in a while. One of the biggest things that we need to do is get back above the bull market support band for the altcoins, right? So let me go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin also needs to get back above the bull market support band, right? None of this is going to happen unless Bitcoin doesn't get back above it. We have to get back above the bull market support band, right? We've talked about that since the beginning of this channel, right? Haven't talked about it in a while because, you know, there's no really point to, but now you can see we're butting right up against it. So the order of business here is to get up above it, come down, let the bull market support band kind of flatten out a little bit like this. You come break up, back test it, and then continue higher, and that will continue the bull market support band higher, right? So that's what we really need. There's another indicator, the Lucid SAR. We're below it right now on the 3-day. It depends on what. Let's go to total 3 here. Let me see. Oh wow, look at Engine. We talked about Engine yesterday. It's about ready to flip that star. And I did go ahead and buy Engine yesterday, and if you did so as well, you're definitely in profit. Let's go to the weekly chart. This is going to be very important. So we're still very far away from the Lucid SAR, but you can see as these stars come down and then the price breaks above it, then the stars are being supported, just like over here. So as soon as we flip that, it's more of a lagging indicator, but eventually we'll get there. We also need the MACD. I mean, the MACD still looks very bearish. It still needs to come down and then flip, right? I mean, let's see. I think the monthly chart probably, yeah. Okay, so the monthly chart still looks okay, but you can start to see it's kind of rolling over a little bit. So we really need to hurry up. But anyway, speaking of the monthly chart, you know, we broke above, we're still above the stars here. We got a nice bullish hammer candle, ends in 10 days, so we'll see. So I think that's about it for the altcoins. Let's jump into XRP here. XRP looks really, really bullish. You can say, what do you mean it's 60 cents? It's been 60 cents for years and years and years and years. Well, no, because I'm looking at the structure of it, and let me flip it back to log scale. Looks, there we go. And I haven't seen a bullish hammer candle like this since this whole time, right? I haven't seen one this whole time. The last time I've seen something like that was probably back here, which led to a big pump. Now that was sort of at the end of the rally, but still. But yeah, I mean, it looks really, really good. So, and again, what is XRP doing on the monthly chart here? Actually, let's zoom into the weekly. You can see, let me take this off. It's doing what? It's going down, just like we talked about the bull flag, right? And another thing that's really cool is XRP is one of the only coins that is now above the bull market support band and the EMA ribbon. That is a huge bullish sign. And then also, right, we just won the lawsuit, which is very important, right? So there's also talks about an XRP ETF on the horizon, a Ripple IPO, so that Ripple's gonna actually be on the stock market, right? And you can trade Ripple. So I think the best time to IPO is at the top of a bull cycle, right? So imagine XRP $10 and then Ripple comes out with an IPO. that's going to probably be a good time to take some profit there. But yeah, XRP is definitely above the EMA ribbon and the bull market support band. So let me just get rid of that. Look at that. Look at that. I haven't even talked about that in a while. So we came up, we back tested it, now we're back above it. You could say, well, yeah, but we were above it here, we came down. We were above it here, we came down. That's true. But however, when you take into account the Elliott wave, right? So you have A, you have a 3-wave move for B, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have an A, B, C, right? So that's a 3-wave move inside of a downsloping channel with a mega pump to the upside, right? With a mega pump to the upside, and then a big pullback that came down, back tested, and now we're back up to basically the top here. So we were back testing it all up in there. So that's a really good sign here. You can see when it's in an actual trend, you can see we're bouncing here, which led to a big rally. So yeah, I think XRP is definitely a force to be reckoned with. So it's definitely one you don't want to miss out on. And when I put a downward resistance line here, and I just go wick to wick, you can see kind of where we're at. If I slide it down to the bodies, and I just try to line it up as best as I can, excluding the wicks, you can see this is actually probably the first week. If we can close above 60 cents, we're officially going to close above this downward resistance line, right, with a body out of it, right? So if we can close above it, it'll be the first time in a long, since this downtrend that we've actually closed above it, right? And that's important because when you follow the 3-wave move and you have the impulse, you have a 1, 2, what traditionally happens? Well, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have A, B, C, right? And then you have 1, 2, and now we're in the middle of 3. So 3 can get high. It can get really high. I'm imagining, probably between 90 cents up to $1.30, and that can happen very fast. 4 and then 5, something like that. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I don't know if it's going to be exactly like that, but you can see we're going up, we're coming down, which is going to lead to something like this. And then the question becomes, is that all we get? Or do we have a 4th wave and then another 5th wave that takes us actually into expansion? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So that will be the big tail right there. So yeah, XRP looking great. Hit that like button if you can. I believe I will go over an hour. I haven't looked at all the coins I wanted to look at yet. But as far as the small time frame goes, it's not too exciting right now. XRP definitely has been leading a lot of the market. That's why it hasn't, you could see quite a few coins actually doing quite well. I think that's because XRP had such a big rally because of that lawsuit settlement, right? Whereas other coins maybe didn't have such a good rally, right? So you can see it's kind of cupping back up, which is good to see. So essentially what we have is something of a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder. So we have an inverse head and shoulders. So yeah, it's looking good. So what else could it be? Well, there's really two ideas here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 5. Or 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a 5-wave move. So that's idea number 1. Idea number 2 is we have an A, we have a B, and we have a C. And then we go. Because you could see when we broke above the bull market support band, we actually didn't test it. So we could come down to 52 cents and test it, then go up. So it'd be like 3, 3, and then maybe we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3, 3, 5. So A, B, C. So yeah, that's really what it comes down to. So don't be surprised if we do come down and test it, right? So today's Wednesday. We got kind of a pump. I'm imagining maybe Thursday might be even a bigger pump, or we should start to reverse for that pullback. So let's look at another coin here. Look at Engine. It's doing pretty good. Looks like it's about to break above our descending or ascending triangle, which is always a good bottoming structure. So far so good. But yeah, it's definitely forming some kind of bottom. I definitely don't think it's a fourth wave like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, I guess it could be, but the time difference is getting too big. So I would expect it to, it's either creating some kind of Wyckoff pattern where we would do something like that, or it's coiling up for an ascending triangle, back test, and then continue higher, pull back, and then, you know, just continuing to trail back up. But the real thing is on the macro chart of Engine here, and I really like the way it looks. It's basically way down here in the bottom, and like I said yesterday, I think it's a really good buy. Now I don't know anything about Engine. I don't know if there's any scandals, or I'll probably have to do some research, but why is it so sold off so much? I mean, to me, I look at it as a good opportunity. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? You come down here, you build the base, you break below the base, maybe a big liquidity grab, you come back up, and then take off. So maybe it's some kind of big Wyckoff structure, and this is just a big spring. I don't know. But we didn't break this low, which is very important. We came close to it, but we didn't break it. So I think it's definitely a very interesting one to maybe take a little bit of a stab at. Now, I could be wrong, not financial advice. I don't, you know, this thing can go to zero. I don't know. But I like to buy coins that are really down in the dumps, you know, instead of chasing the pumps. So if we look at THETA, you know, THETA is also on a 2-week 9 buy, right? We talked about that. So it's look at that, beautiful. We have red, 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 red. The statistical probability of getting a green candle exceeds a lot when you have all of these red candles in a row, especially, you know, over 13. So yeah, we have 4 days until this candle closes. The big order of business is maybe we go sideways for that week, kind of develop a little bit of a base here, and then break out, have the bull market support band round out, we back test it, and then continue moving on up. So definitely THETA's one of the biggest ones you want to keep an eye on. Now look at THETA here. We're actually breaking above on the microstructure. Exactly what we talked about. This is, I mean, it's perfect. We did a little roundabout. We went sideways, exactly what we talked about. And now look at that. We're breaking the dots here. And having the sequential on, we had this 9 here, right? And even though the 9 didn't do a good job at reversing the price, it did do a good job at bouncing the price. But it did an even better job at creating these red dots here. So when you fast forward, look how significant those red dots are. Look at that. And now look at this, we're breaking above it. So it basically gave you the trend line before the trend line even existed. That's kind of cool. And if you want to get this indicator, it's called Trend Reversal Predictor. That's the indicator. But it's really called TD Sequential. So just go to Google, type in TD Sequential, and it'll tell you exactly how it works. So yeah, I think it looks pretty good. We're moving in the right direction. Let's see if we can get any targets here. If I put my trend-based extension from up here and then back down to here. Now I need to make sure this is not on. I think I kind of messed up on the last one. Let me see if it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. So we want to see it get to about $1.46. So that's the target. The big target is going to be $1.90. That's always been the big target since we were in here. So $1.90 is a big significant area. So that's going to come in at the bottom of here, of all these closes in here. So there you go. So yeah, so right there. Yeah, and that's basically a little bit higher than the 1618. So my prediction is that we're going to get back up here. You can see the bull market support band obviously is coming on down, so you just project that. So my projection here, and when you talk about technical analysis, it's never predictions. People don't make predictions, they make projections, right? It's a projection. I'm projecting a price. I'm not predicting a price. It's a big difference, right? But you know, whatever. I want to see this thing get back up into here. And then the big question is, once it gets there, how does it react? Does it react like a quick reversal? What do we get? So we have a shoulder, right? We have a head. I want to see this form up here and then maybe create another shoulder here, right? So then the measured move approximately is going to be, look at that, almost 290. So more than enough that we need. So yeah, theta's looking pretty good here. So again, shoulder, head, let's get a shoulder, let's get back up here, we'll get rejected in here, we'll coil up, we'll break out, we'll back test, we'll continue higher. That's what we want. That's what we want to see. Now if it's very bearish, what are we gonna look for? Well, if it's very bearish, we're gonna still look for probably a little bit higher. This turns into a three-wave shape, and then we continue going down. We get rejected hard and we crash. And it would probably be because of some kind of event. I don't know. But those are the two options. We're still at that inflection point. We're definitely still not out of the woods yet. So we still got a little ways to go. But the good thing is, you know, we broke out and we closed above on an hour scale. Right? So you can see we got the breakout. There we go. So let's look at fetch, because fetch is actually looking really good too. I really liked its correction. I was definitely talking about it a few times, and yeah, it looks 1, 2, 3, and then I like this 1, 2, 3. So then either you're going to get 1, 2, 3, or you're going to get 4, 5. So A, B, C. Right? Let's get back up into here, and then see what happens. So yeah, fetch is looking good, and then it also has a very nice long downward channel here. It's a little bit off there, but you can see it's definitely a corrective structure. W, X, Y, X, Z. So it has all the qualifications. And then also, do we have a sequential? Let's go to the 2-week chart, and that would just be the icing on the cake. Yeah, we do. Look at that. Perfect. We have a perfect 9 buy. So if I can pick any indicator on planet Earth that gives me the confidence that Bitcoin's going to have that fifth wave, it would be the altcoin 9 buy. This is a big signal here. And I don't think a lot of people, I think I'd be maybe the only ones talking about it. So this signal, I'm trusting a lot. And if it doesn't work, then at least we're going to get a bounce. And then the cool part about the bounce is we're going to figure out how it bounces and how it reacts as it goes up. And we'll talk about that in the member video to kind of get a strategy here. So if you want to join that, you can go ahead and check it out. Just click join, and I'll be putting that out sometime this week. ICP was another good one. Look at that, a 2-week 9 buy, perfect. VLO, I mean, I'm gonna have to do another rapid fire session. So if you want any coins you want me to take a look at, drop them in the comment section. I'm really running out of time here. I'm pushing it. You know, it's pretty long, but yeah, Matic 9 buy looking really good on the 2-week chart. So you can see Zcash broke above the bull market support band and it back tested it. Look at SHIB. SHIB is also on a 9 buy. I mean, there's a lot of good things going on here. ADA is also on a 9 buy, or it had its 9 buy, right? So that's good. And then also had bullish divergence, I believe, on the RSI. CRV also had a 9 buy, and look at how it reacted. It already activated the 9, and this one breaks my heart because I got stopped out on it. VChain also on a 9 buy. Look at that. I mean, come on, guys. This is it. I mean, this is good. This is good. This is what we want to see. Let's see. Filecoin. Look at Filecoin is also on a 9 buy. Perfect. Casper has been a complete disaster. Wow. The all-time high of Casper was $73, and now it's only 1 penny. So if we went back to the all-time high, that would be half a million %, 500,000%. That's, who wants to take a stab at that? ADA, I think we talked about it. XLM, look at that. XLM is on a 9 buy, and it's a nice doji look. So QNT, look at that 9 buy. Looks pretty good. Bounced off the red dot. I might consider dipping my toes into QNT. Simply because of how big this was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we had this big 3-wave shape. Huge 3-wave shape that landed on a 9. So, looks good. ZRX, 9 buy. ZIL, 9 buy. XDR is on an 8. It's going to get a 9 next week, or in 4 days it's going to be on a 9. Monero's different, but it's still very bullish. I really like Monero. It looks very bullish. It looks very bullish. Why? Because I think I'll talk about it next video. It's creating this base, first of all, which is very important. And then it's also the way it's correcting. It has the perfect structure. It broke above the bull market support band. It's back testing it. It's confirming the back test, right? So you can see all that empty space up here. There's a lot of empty space up here, right? So you have a crash, or you have this 3-way pullback. You have the consolidation. You base out. I believe it's going to break. I'm bullish. I'm bullish. I'm bullish. I'm bullish. All right, guys. I will talk to you on the next video. Hit that like button. I appreciate everybody. I took a risk doing a member style because if we went into a bear market, which we could totally do, you know, it wouldn't be so beneficial because I know YouTube drops off a cliff when things get very boring and depressing. But I think now is very, very exciting. I know a lot of people are still bored, but I'm telling you, things are looking nice on the chart. It might take a little bit of time, but even if we did have a black swan event, there's still so much more to look forward to. You can't even comprehend. So we'll continue to be along with the journey, and we'll see how it unravels. But until next time, I will catch you on the next one. Cheers.